Welcome to Democracy Pulse, a fireside chat. My name is Kale Chimumo, and I am excited to be your host as we continue these amazing conversations produced by the Oslo Center and Sema Box with the support from the European Union. Now, we are here to just, get deeper into conversations that are around the 16 days of activism. That's where this fireside chat is drawn from. And as we continue, please remember that you can talk to us at the Oslo Center. Use the hashtag the Democracy Pulse, hashtag 16 Days of Activism. Now, on this episode, we're excited because we are sitting down with a woman who is a distinguished global public health and policy specialist with over 22 years experience in both local and international NGOs. She's the founder of her own foundation, which focuses on addressing gender-based violence and supporting survivors. And she's helped over 3,000 individuals since the inception of this foundation in 2017. Welcome, Betty Adera of the Betty Adera Foundation.
Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to have me here today.
Yeah.
I'm super, super grateful to the Oslo Center for this opportunity to come in and also speak to the world, sharing our stories and learning from them at the same time.
Absolutely. And, I'm so intrigued because as I was doing my research about you, Betty, I was, looking at what is it that drives Betty. And I discovered that you had a personal experience with domestic violence that has shaped your vision and direction for this foundation. Maybe you can share a little bit about how that particular incident shared how you're going to get into what it is that you're doing today as you highlight some of the things you do there.
Yeah. Violence against women of any form, women and girls and even children, creates a profound impact in them as survivors. What that does to you is it takes away your dignity. It takes away your self-confidence. It takes away your ability to even think straight. And it takes away your ability to even dream of a better tomorrow. I know many women and girls who are in a similar situation who have gone through worse experiences than mine. And no matter how educated they are, no matter how moneyed they are, they're still stuck, in that quagmire of wondering what really happened to them. Wondering, okay, so what can they even do? Appreciating, even understanding what it is that is really happening to them and the impact of it, let alone the impact of children who also experience the same violence just by proximity, just being in that
space
where all that is happening.
Yeah.
So how has that shaped me? I remember a couple of years ago when I took a very personal decision to go public about my own story. I was amazed and even shocked, actually, by the number of women and girls who came up to me and said, whoa, you have spoken for thousands and thousands of women out there. Because remember, this is an African context, this is third world.
Exactly.
And these are topics that are not easy to speak about, let alone listening to it. It's not easy just because of the way we are. We are socialized. And when so many of them came to me, including men, though women were more, but they are also men.
That's a good plus, that there were men who came.
There are men who come, even to this day, say, hey, I can't go to my house until 3 a.m., in the morning, because he's running away from something. So violence against anybody is not a respecter of person. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be down there in the social ladder. You can also be, up there in the social ladder. If it happens to you, it happens to you. And the impact it has on you is the same no matter who you are. I then decided to found Betty Adera Foundation because the need was too great for me to just handle one-on-one. And I thought that would be a platform, one, that would be for anybody who cares to take advantage of it. That is one. And two, to be there and meet these people at their point of need. And three, to offer a very safe space for people to come in, women, girls, to speak about what it is that has happened to them. And together we figure out a solution.
Yeah.
So I'm not there by myself. I have a whole team.
No, I
have a
can
whole team.
imagine. I can imagine you have a whole
Yeah,
team.
but what keeps me going is at the end of the day, when I'm now by myself,
Yeah.
between me and my God, at the end of every single day,
Mm.
I look back at how the day was.
Yeah.
Outside of all these things I do in my career, there's somebody I can name by name, at that time and say, God, thank you for giving me the opportunity to impact this person's life.
So, Betty, when I listen to everything that you're talking about, I'm wondering, even just as you say, you go to bed at night and you're thinking about the impact, you're thinking about what it is you've been able to do. From when you were going through what you went through, did you see any help? Did you find a place where people could say, hey, you've gone through a really hard thing with this domestic violence, come in, let's help you? Or were you faced with the cases of, you must have done something wrong, which I find that that's a lot of the way society looks at us as women, is that it was our fault if we experienced gender-based violence. So what was your experience as you were coming out of your situation?
And sadly so, I think almost every case is about blaming you. Mm-hmm. You're the one who you deserved it. Mm. You're the one who's, you're on the wrong. And sometimes we even see social media conversations among Kenyans like you and I about the concerning the increasing incidences of femicide that we have seen in our country of late. And conversation is largely about what? They deserved it. Yeah. The women who got killed, who got raped, who got what? They deserved it. But apart from that, there's also a lot of stigma. It's a difficult thing, to talk about. And especially if you are a woman yourself of high standing, how do you go to your office and tell your juniors that you have a black eye? And, so you find yourself making excuses.
You cover up.
To cover up. Yeah. Making excuses, to cover up. And in our context, and this is like the African social context, this is a difficult thing to talk about. It happens every day. However, for me, I had a support system. I had family, who was by my immediate family, by my side. But I was driven by the innate desire to survive. For the sake of my children. So I have boys, but they were little, at that time. Yeah. And I told myself, God, just keep me.
For these children,
for these children that you gave me. Yeah. If anything happens to me, then I don't know. Only God children, knows whatever, however they would have. Survived. They would have ended up. But listening to stories from other women and girls who come to us on a daily basis, there's stigma right in the family. You're an embarrassment. Yeah, you've left your marriage. You're embarrassing us. You see,
like we received dowry. So now what are we supposed to take it back?
So now we're supposed.
That's the African mentality.
They brought 10 cows.
So now you're telling us we take them back. Now we already ate them.
And they were eaten. So what is it that you want us, you want us to do? Sometimes, the in-laws help in whatever way in the family, and the family would rather value that help than you. And I had women telling me that, would it have been better that I went back to my home in a coffin, already dead, because of, beatings and all that? Yeah. Or was it easier then, to walk out? And we see relationships that completely go south, so south that at the end of the day, death happens, disablement, happens. Injuries happen, mental health happens to a point that people, have just completely gone south. Make no mistake, I'm a great proponent of marriage, the marriage institution. Yeah. However, you don't have to die there. We are past dying in marriages.
Yeah. You have to
make it
take
work.
care of your life, and as you take care of this other person's life, we take care of each other.
Do your best to make it work. Yeah. Reach out.
But don't die there.
To professional help if you need to. Exactly. But you don't have to die there. Yeah. Do not die there.
I think that's so important, especially when we talk about people in the grassroots. People back in the counties at home where perhaps maybe they don't have as much confidence
Yeah.
to walk away.
Oh, yeah.
And that has been the case of, I'm sure, thousands of girls who've come through your foundation, having gone through gender-based violence. So what lessons would you say then you have learned about addressing such situations for the grassroots level people? How do we reach them better? How do we communicate that you don't need to die in this relationship and teach them how to make a decision that it's not about embarrassing the family, it's about me staying alive?
Yeah.
What is the kind of experience you've had and what you've learned dealing with people who come from poor backgrounds who may have no other option, but marriage is the only thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meet women almost like every week whose story is exactly that. Beaten up so badly for whatever reason, violated in all manner of ways, but she can't leave. She can't do anything drastic because she has got nothing of her own. She doesn't have an economy, of her own to support herself or her children. Sadly, Kaleche, I also hear stories, like real stories, of women who got into a marriage with children from another relationship.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
So in the eyes of this guy paying your rent, this your daughter is not his biological daughter.
Yet he accepted you with this
child. And in the eyes of such a person, this is just another woman, in the house. So many women come to me. Most of them actually hide these things. Your own daughter is being violated sexually by this your partner. All right? But you're stuck there. You can't walk out. You can't even speak up. And I've gotten cases where it is teachers in school who notice something wrong with such and such a child.
Yeah.
And they reach out to us, reach out to administration, and all this time the mother was like
aware,
sweeping it
under the rug.
And all the evidence being swept under the rug. So a girl like that growing up one day to be a fully grown woman of her own, what kind of a citizen are we
she doesn't even feel protected at home. And yet we want to talk about the policies that are to protect them.
Thank you.
Will they believe that the policies from a higher level will protect them?
Yeah.
So how do we help a child like that one? Because you see, the mother, in my opinion, at this point, her case is gone because she decided to sweep it under the rug because she's looking at it like, if I don't, then we'll be kicked out and we have nowhere to go. So at your foundation then, with a person like that, are we also saying that you're able to help them learn how to fend for themselves, take care of themselves? Because I think it's also about depending on the man that keeps you in that home. So what are some of the things that you've been able to do when you meet such cases?
Okay, so two things. One, first of all, is to create a very safe space for them to trust you, to even come to you and talk to you about these things.
Right.
We have professionals who come in on schedule. We have professional counselors. I don't do everything. I'm not a trained counselor myself, but I offer that space where there's somebody trained in counseling. I have people who have plugged in from the legal space. So if a person decides that they want to take a legal route, there's always, a legal person at hand to come in and just advise and give all the options and explain to you clearly that if you're taking this path, this is how that path looks like. If you're taking this path, this is how that path looks like. Some come to us saying, no, they just want to be reconciled. That's fine. We also have like the faith sector, who partner with us on a needs basis, for that kind of thing, including in integration. So a safe space is very, very critical. And also offering, services that are trusted at the local level. Sometimes you just get calls from the police or the local chief that there's such and such a case. So come in. And that can't happen if if they don't trust you. And then when you come into that space, of course, together with the administration, government, you talk through the best possible pathway for that. So that is one. Secondly, I agree with you that economic empowerment is a very, very powerful tool for women in anything.
Yes.
But more so, those who are vulnerable or who are at risk and vulnerable to gender-based violence.
Right.
And also those who have actually experienced it. You know, when a woman doesn't have her own economy, her options become limited for all manner of reasons.
Right.
But now in the framework or context of gender-based violence, her options are now even zero. Like the cases I'm telling you of the partner violating the daughter. Let me tell you, no woman can be happy when your own partner is also
crossing a line with your child,
your own
daughter.
blood.
No.
You know, show me a woman who likes that. No, nobody, no woman who, but why is she condoning all this? She doesn't have her own. So right now we are in the process of planning. We hope that this project will lift off at some point early next year. And by the way, we look for partners, to join our hands in this, training women on economic empowerment, giving them the business skills. Women are already in chamas.
Yeah.
You don't tell a woman to join a chama. They're
already in one.
But
she needs to know what to do, and she gets the money from the chama.
She gets the money from the chama, and then of course link them to all these other spaces within this government for women economic empowerment. There are so many, but there's a process to get there. So we want to be that bridge to link these women to
the right places,
to the right sources for getting like the financial support. But we also want to partner with the private sector banks. Please reach out to us, because I'm trained in public health at a global level.
Yeah.
I don't know how to train somebody on money.
Yeah. You actually need partners who are willing to empower these women economically.
Yeah.
Okay.
But something also critical, and this is my last point to answer that question, is with the support of Rise Up Kenya, we are currently implementing an advocacy project within Westlands, sub-county, that endeavors to support girls to go back to school, girls who have had children and babies and so on, because the policy from the Ministry of Education Kenya-wide is pretty clear, but operationalization of it is something else. So we're working closely with the local education leaders at sub-county level, community leaders, community members, all these stakeholders, including, teen girls and teen mothers themselves, so that we can elevate, their voices to speak for themselves and say, hey, the policy is here.
Yeah.
We want our right.
Yeah.
To ensure that even if we have had children, whether it was through rape or through whatever, a child happened and the child has been born, and this girl had to drop out of school, but now she's ready, to go back and complete her education, which is a right accorded to everybody by our constitution.
So what are the girls going through? Because, I'm just surprised, because I want us also to talk about just the challenges of executing these policies and implementing them in Kenya.
Yeah.
When you tell me that there's multiple numbers of girls who have had babies and are willing to go back to school, because initially the challenge was getting them to say they want to go back.
Yeah.
Now they're here, they want to go back.
Yeah.
But what happens when they go to the school then? Where's the problem? What have you witnessed out there?
So we created a scholarship fund through a social enterprise of selling sanitary towels, because we have to get money from somewhere, right? And again, looking for partners on this. So there's a scholarship fund specifically set aside to support such girls to go back to school. Because when you're going back to school, often they don't want to go back to the same school they were in because of stigma and all manner of drama right there. So going to a new school means what? New uniform, new books, new school fees. Every single.
Which is an expense they can't afford. They just had a baby.
They just had a baby. Okay, why did they even have this baby in the first place? Let's go back there.
Okay.
One, a good number is out of sexual violation, and then a baby, happens. Another one is just out of survival. This boda man says,
if you want me to give you a ride.
And I really love bodas, but sorry to say this. Okay, some man there says, you want money for sanitary towels, something as basic as sanitary towels. Or as basic as these girl things. You know, a girl
Yeah.
wants to dress up, shoes,
She wants a bit of
hair,
perfume,
perfume, all those things. There is someone who will give it to you.
but
there's
the
no free
compromise
lunch.
is that
Exactly. There's no free lunch. Then a pregnancy, happens. So right there, parents kick them out. Okay? All this stigma that you're the one who has dropped out of school in your family, in your community, and so on.
Yeah.
A good chunk, by the way, attempt, to abort. And of course, abortion will definitely be unsafe.
Yeah.
So that's another pathway of a challenge that you don't even want to go there. For those who then stay and endure, the childbirth. If they don't go back to school, let me tell you, by the time this 14-year-old is 19, 20,
she's had maybe 3 other children.
She has had 3 other children. And so with successive pregnancies, opportunity to go back to school diminishes like that.
Correct.
You see my point?
Yes.
And so we are also trying to work with local administration and the Ministry of Education as friends, as our partners, so that we determine every workable pathway for every girl. Some just tell us, you know what? I want to go back to school, but I'm not going back to secondary school. Help me to enroll myself in tertiary or adult education. Because remember, there's a baby somewhere.
She still has to make time to go back home.
She has to make time.
Her schedule is different.
Her schedule is different.
Right.
And remember, these are families from the informal urban settlements. So poverty is the order of the day here. So you're adding one extra mouth,
to this economy.
To feed.
Then you have to also work for it.
You also have to work for it. And then your own mother, if you're living with the mother, for example, that your mother also has her own things going on.
Right.
She has to go out to the market to sell whatever. So how do you even deal with this baby? There's a baby here that has to be dealt with.
Care of,
So many reasons, so many barriers are right in front of this girl that chances that she'll even go back is almost zero. But with the right kind of support, right from the family, right from the community, right from the education sector itself, including partners like us, nothing can stop a girl from going back to school. I know so many who have gone back to school. They are currently in the universities pursuing, various degrees. There are some who have finished tertiary. They are eking a life for themselves, supporting, the children that they had. So it's not a doom and gloom.
Okay.
But all partners have to come work together and do your part.
So in terms of just now looking at our government particularly and just looking at the different support that you are able to get, what are some of the biggest challenges in implementing? Because I think implementing is where we're at, right?
Okay.
Implementing progressive gender-based violence policies.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the biggest challenges? Because you mentioned that you may even go back to school and the school administration doesn't want you there. Yeah. I don't know why that would be happening, whether it's a fear of you are a spoiled apple and so you're going to spoil the rest.
Spoil the rest. Mainly that.
So what are some of the biggest challenges? And now we're looking at it from a leadership perspective. What are some of the things that you would say are stopping it from being implemented?
For me, broadly, and if I now wear my global hat, Kenya's legal framework is quite progressive. This constitution, this one that we have, is among the best, in the world.
Right.
And specific now to the education sector, I believe they have put forward the best possible policies anchored on the same, constitution that we're talking about, to give every child an equal right to pursue your education. So education is a human right, in Kenya.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. The minute you put a right to a service, you've got to ensure
service delivery. Delivery.
That the teacher is qualified to train, and there's no issue there.
Yes.
That this learner, has zero barrier to even access school in the first place.
Yeah.
And looking at Kenya now broadly, we know, there are communities that as soon as a girl child gets into puberty, that's it. That's the end of her education. She's now a woman, marry her off and
that's it.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
You see. So for me, it's about enforcement or operationalization. How do we measure that in a year, as a Ministry of Education, X number of girls, dropped out of school because of pregnancy? That record is there somewhere. But we need to go further and say, of this X number that dropped, after 1 year, how many of them, what was the proportion of them who went back, to school to actually complete their education? So in my view, and this is what we are working on, but at a small, sub-county level, is to develop, with the help of Rise Up Kenya, to develop like a monitoring and evaluation framework, so that is also measured. How many came back? How many were able to come back? Because except you go to the last mile, then you cannot say, that you're providing the right to education for every child. Remember, it's not only girls who get pregnant. There are also boys who leave school because of delinquency, because of drugs, alcohol, all manner of issues. So all these who left, why? What was the reason for leaving?
And how can we get them back?
More importantly, how do we get them back? And how many actually, came back? Remember the school, and by school, I mean the school environment, the teachers and so on. That is a second parent of this child. I know so many teachers who have been the ones to make the call to us. There's a child here who comes to school perpetually at a uji.
Nothing. They've not had anything to eat.
Nothing. And it forces this teacher to dip into her pocket
to at least help a child.
To just go through the day.
Yeah.
So that's a very powerful space. Yeah. And the school administration has the power to also bring in other partners like the parents, and they have the learners right there. So this tripartite partnership, school, parent, child.
Yeah.
We want to work with them closely to make that work, so that no child, seeps through the sieve unnoticed and vanishes into thin air, nobody knowing whatever happened to them.
Yeah. And just as you're adding on to the policies, there are certain things that we see from our leadership level. We're still very patriarchal in the way that Kenya drives some of these things. As much as we have a constitution that's solid, in execution, we end up struggling because of the way we have a patriarchal society. And we end up leaving out men from the conversation. I'm glad you said that some men actually came to you and talked to you and helped. But how much more can we call out to men, or what role do you feel they should be playing in supporting the anti-gender-based violence campaigns, creating safer communities? What would you say men can do? How do they plug in? Because we need them.
So my personal opinion is that the way feminism was unpacked to us in an African context decades ago, some interpreted it to mean women are good, men are bad. So right there's a problem.
Absolutely. There's a problem.
So right there's a problem. A couple of years ago, before this administration came to power, there was this conversation around the 2/3 gender rule.
Right.
In our National Assembly.
Correct.
And Senate. And if you listened to how that conversation would go, you wonder, Kwani, is it a war between men and women? No, it's not.
It's not a war.
It's not a war.
Because it comes off like that even in our day-to-day conversations, even on our social media.
So we have to go back, you and I, and the yous and the miss, we have to go back to the drawing board and say, hey, let's pause for a moment. Let us wipe this slate clean. No society will move forward when there's only one side being pushed and another side. It can't be girl at the expense of boy.
Right.
It cannot be boy at the expense of girls.
Everybody needs to move together.
That is how it has been all this time, hence the patriarchy thing you are talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody has to move together.
Correct.
At the same pace. Equalizing, the opportunities that are there. And in case there's a particular section of population or population group, lagging behind, let's think about equitable, strategies to ensure that the playing field, becomes leveled. So for me, when we talk about, gender-based violence. Who is the perpetrator? Why is that person the perpetrator? Who is the survivor? Who is the victim? But their victim died. Survivor survived.
Yeah.
So that one has died.
Yeah.
Becomes a statistic.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and we need to get beyond that. There's nothing as powerful as bringing men and boys like from a really, really
Young age. Yeah.
to a table where you're talking about equal opportunities. You're talking about the value of educating girls and educating boys, the value of education. Let me put it that overall, for everybody. And also talk about and unpack these GBV things. I have had many conversations back there in the communities in Westlands, and I love my border guys. They're like, Madam, from today, nobody is going to violate girls under our watch. But they know everything.
That's lovely.
Because they're the ones who
they
carry
see everyone.
They see everyone. They move around. They carry everyone. They know who's who and all that. You know. And let me tell you, there are 2 cases we got that was reported to us by a border person.
Wow.
So that's so powerful.
Because they're the people who have been accused for so long.
Yes.
But if you involve them in the conversation, it changes the playing field. It changes
the playing field. And that has to be scaled and escalated, all the way up. So that at the end of the day, everybody, men, women, boys, girls, are part of solutions to our day-to-day societal problems.
I love it. And as we wind up, what advice would you give to young women who aspire to become leaders in social justice and gender equality? What advice would you give those young women today? Because how you carry yourself, how you're going to be aware of whatever it is you're doing matters, in this society. So how would you advise those young women? They're aspiring to be leaders. They want to join that path of leadership. And it's scary.
Oh, it is.
It is scary. Being a woman in a man's world in any industry has been scary for a long time. Even for me as a media personality, you are branded as bombastic, big-headed, too loud, too everything. Yet, all you're doing is trying to survive in this place where a woman should be muted. So what's your advice today to such a woman?
When it comes to advice, Kalechi, I can sit here and talk the whole day.
But we don't have the whole day.
But I know we don't have the whole day. So in summary.
Yes, please.
What I would advise young women out there is, first of all, really find yourself. Determine who you are and what it is that you want to be. Okay. Be clear on your pathway. Yeah. What kind of a leader, what kind of a sector, do you want to have influence in? All right? And it's okay as a young woman not to be clear about that's fine. But you need to be on a pathway to starting to figure that out.
Right.
Then secondly, improve yourself every single day. Read widely. Be vast. Be knowledgeable about anything, everything going around you as a person and going around in the world.
Okay.
Like I told you, my background is public health.
Right.
But if you ask me to speak about AI,
you are there.
You will wonder. This one.
We need to invite you for that conversation. Yes.
Climate action.
Yeah.
I'm there. You have to be able to speak intelligently.
Right.
About these things. And the beauty with the young generation now, they have the world at their fingertips. Your phone is actually the whole world right there.
Correct.
Have mentors around you. And think critically who you want to invite to be your mentor. They don't have to be many. It can even be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But a mentor for something specific. If it is a mentor in leadership, think critically who that person is, because we didn't have mentors. We
learned on the way.
We learned on the, and we just used to see up there. Hey, I want to be like such and such a woman,
but I don't know.
But there's no one really
no access.
No access.
Yeah,
and no one will literally hold your hand. To that space. And if you look for me, I might just find some 5 minutes for you every week to help you reach your goal.
I love this, Betty.
Think about building your own resilience. Let me tell you, shit will happen.
Yeah.
Something will hit you.
Something somewhere will happen.
Will hit you.
And it will be branded so badly. If you don't have a thick skin.
Exactly.
You won't survive it.
And you need to bounce back. You need to recalibrate yourself to your true north.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And young women are everywhere. And like I said, it's okay. But start working towards finding really
who are you,
who are you and who you are.
Yeah.
Balance your work life, your social life, your personal life, everything about you and life, including your religious life.
Correct.
Don't be an extreme of any of those.
Either of them.
All right. So just figure out in your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that even President Ruto has. Everybody has.
You have to do something that fits in all those brackets.
Yeah, so that you balance it.
Awesome.
And lastly, compete with yourself. Be a better version of yourself today than you were yesterday, bearing in mind that you have a journey. That journey is just yours for you. People can walk with you, but they cannot walk for you. So figure that out.
Figure it out, guys. Figure it out. Nobody's going to walk the walk for you. You've got to do it yourself. Thank you so much, Betty Adera, for taking the time to come and share on how we can really work at being collaborative and taking collaborative action towards ending gender-based violence. This, of course, marks 16 days of activism, and it's inspiring conversations like the one you've shared today that really help us move forward. So thank you so much, guys. Remember, we are waiting to hear from you. What are your comments? What are your thoughts on this conversation? Reach us at the Oslo Center on all the socials. And remember, use hashtag the Democracy Pulse and hashtag 16 days of activism. Thank you so much to the European Union for being our main supporter in creating this fireside chat, proudly produced by the Oslo Center and Semabox. And we are excited to just keep hearing from you. And remember, if women, and young women in particular, and women with disabilities are not safe, they cannot fully participate in the development of their own society. Gender-based violence is a violation of human rights. So go out there and be responsible with how you treat other people as you go about your everyday life. Hope to see you soon. You guys take care. I'm Kalechi Momo.